What's up everyone, MK Tom Brady here. In this video, I want to take a look at Cetrion and I want to answer the question that really a lot of people are saying now. Well, not even asking, they're just demanding. But should Cetrion be nerfed? So a lot of the Cetrion outcry was kind of pushed to the back burner because people were really on upgraded Jackie or some of the Joker stuff or Liu Kang. And once Ultimate got released and the tournament started up again, like the Pro Series, etc., a lot of people were on this. Wow, Cetrion is one of the biggest beneficiaries to customs. She's even better now, and the nerf Cetrion movement seems like it's stronger and more vocal than ever. The recent Pro Series tournament, NA West, and I remember watching that tournament, and even NA East, a lot of people after the tournament were talking about how dumb Cetrion was. Just all this Cetrion talk was huge. And then, of course, Joker was in there as well. But Cetrion got a lot of, comments like, why is this possible? Look what she can do. Everybody should have a Cetrion now. Okay, so Cetrion, a lot of people would consider to be a zoner. If you're not familiar with fighting game terminology, a zoner pretty much refers to a type of character that uses a very strong projectile-based game. So it's a game that's done with using their projectiles as a way to really cause the opponent to react a certain way, which can damage them as they're trying to get in, and it also frees up other aspects of their game. So a lot of aspects of the zoner's game flows from their ability to use projectiles. Like maybe you're trying to get around a projectile and they surprise you by dashing in at a time where you don't expect it, jumping in at a time in which you don't expect it, or maybe you're trying to jump over a projectile and they don't do it and they anti-air you or just back away and you miss and punish you. A lot of aspects of a zoner's game come from when you're trying to get around their projectile-based game and now they're able to do other things. So it kind of flows, right? The projectile-based game opens up this part of the character's game, and this is how zoners kind of work if you were to go through a zoner flowchart. A lot of people see Cetrion as a character. She's going to run away from you, and you're trying to chase her down, and she has these projectiles here. She has her boulder. She has her air boulder, so if you try to jump the ground one, she can do the air one, which will knock you out of the air, as well as trigger a crushing blow if she catches you airborne, as in trying to jump over something. She also has her Hell's Wrath here. It's 24 frames. It's a grounded projectile as well, but she goes airborne, and she can do it while midair as well, and she can amplify it for a little extra damage or to keep herself a little safer from certain ranges, from some characters who can punish the non-amplified version. So she has all kind of ways that she can zone, and she can do other stuff too, like she has her vine grab here. But again, if you want to say this is part of her zoning game, sure, but I don't really look at it as a zoning tool. To me, it's more of like a counter zone tool. But in general, people look at Cetrion as a character who she's running away from you because she has a great backdash, and you're just chasing her down, and she's running away, and zoning you, and you're getting hit by Hell's Wrath and boulders, or this if you try to jump. And she also has a ground pound as well that she could use. This is the default variation that people are using in competitive loadouts now. And they're like, well, this is a zoner. You got to chase her down. In reality, Cetrion is not a zoner. A zoner would be someone who, like I said, a lot of their game flows from their zoning, their projectile game. Cetrion's projectiles by themselves are absolutely, I'll be kind and say mediocre. The boulder is 48 frames. Okay. The air boulder is 46 frames. Not very fast. Her Hell's Wrath is 24, 22 when airborne, but you've got to get those airborne frames out, so it's a little slower than 22 because you got to take into account the frames to jump to get to that point. So it's actually slower than 22. These are not the fastest projectiles. So of course, people are going to say, well, Tom, if this is the case and her projectiles are not all that great, why is it that we are chasing Cetrion down as she's running away and zoning us, why, if these projectiles are as mediocre as you say, why can't most characters outzone her and make her chase them down, right? Because this makes no sense. I mean, this would be true. If her projectiles truly were mediocre, most characters could just beat her projectiles versus projectiles. She wouldn't be able to run away, right? She would have to come to you, as your zoning would just be better than hers. True. But the main reason why we have to walk Cetrion down is moves like this. Teleport. You see, as you're going to see in this video, it's not necessarily her zoning that frees everything else about her game up. It's everything about her game that allows her to zone. She's really quite a well-designed character, and it's really a credit to those guys at NRS for actually really having a lot of originality when putting this character together. So Cetrion, you can't just fire projectiles back, right? Because she can still teleport, and she has the best teleport in the game, and she will just teleport and punish you. So you have to be careful, and you can't just, throw projectiles back at her, because at any point she can teleport, and she can do this airborne as well. So she does have the option to do like moves like this, and if you try to read that and you think that that's coming, she can also teleport. And she can also teleport away from you, although this does take defensive resource. I have the meter on refill, but you can see very quickly the defensive bar comes off. And this, if you're trying to track her down and you put her more toward the corner, you have to be very cautious, right? Because she could teleport out of the corner, and then you have to chase her down again. But at the same time, again, she's giving you multiple looks. Like I said, air, Hell's Wrath, teleport away, or maybe more zoning, or just a lot of other tools that we're going to get to. So you can't just come in and attack her all day because she has teleport away, right? So even if you said, okay, instead of I'm just going to ignore running away. I'm not gonna run away and try to outzone her. She has a teleport, so I'm just gonna rush her down. Well, of course, even rushing her down, like I said, you got to be cautious because you finally get her cornered and then she gets away. So you can't be but so overzealous, like I'm going to get in, because she can still just get away from you. And by the time you chase her down again, she's going to just be on the other side of the screen with her defensive bar regenerated. And then when it comes to the chase down, so Cetrion doesn't have the best mids in the game. But when you're chasing her down, not only is she, now being able to do moves like Boulder and her Hell's Wrath here. Like if you try to come in on Cetrion and you're doing oh, she doesn't have the best mids, she has good highs, but I'm going to come in with down 4s, down 3s, etc. She has this move here that she can do called her Rock Wall. So for mid-range, she's an exceptional character as well. So when you're trying to come in, she has Rock Wall here. She can do it right next to her, or do it from range. So if you see right here, it'll miss and it'll make contact here. And she can also amplify it and get a little more pushback there. From this range right here, even if you flawless block the second hit, no character can really do anything. Maybe like a Sub-Zero slide or a Liu Kang fly kick, something like that. But outside of that, pretty much nothing from that range. Now what this does is, for one, if you're trying to come in with down 1, down 3, down 4, well, before we even get into that, for one, let's just look at your zoning. So if you say, okay, I'm not going to ignore my projectiles against Cetrion. So say you have slower projectiles, for example. Well, obviously, the slower the projectile is, the easier it is for her to react to it, right, and teleport. But let's say you say, okay, well, I'm going to zone or use my projectiles a little closer range to her, to where it's harder for her to react to it. And even if she teleports, she has to be so preemptive, because even if she's a little late on it, I'll still hit her before she goes off the screen with my projectile. Okay, fair enough. But then she has Rockwall that does multiple things. For one, it hits you if you're trying to come in. But what it can also do is, if you're doing a projectile at closer ranges, it can actually cancel out the projectile. It is projectile immune. Meaning, if your projectile hits the rock wall, it just is removed from the screen and the rock wall stays. And if she then amplifies it after canceling out one of your projectiles, she will be granted a crushing blow. So again, this is really, really good because even from ranges like this, you go to zoner and, you know, you're still getting hit. So it covers multiple options. So just in that as well, it has a great use there. If you're trying to jump, this can actually clip you at the right height and not just anti-air you, but if she catches you at the right height, it will actually allow her to full combo you. But again, this does require the move to almost be completely gone, and you happen to jump at that moment, and you get anti-aired, and then she's pretty much recovered, and then she can go into a combo. So it has the ability to anti-air. In some circumstances, anti-air with a full combo follow-up. It beats out projectiles. It also stops characters from coming in with down 3, down 4, down 1, because again, this is just being put up and it's just smacking you in the face. So as does Hell's Wrath as well. But Rockwall, pretty big culprit of stopping you from doing that. So a lot of times people try to use more ranged moves that move a little forward. So if she's trying to use usually she uses the ranged version here because she doesn't want to wait until you get in front of her. So a lot of times people will use more advancing moves, advancing mids, etc. It's really, really good because this way she can't go under them with down 1, down 3. And this is where Cetrion's jabs come into play. These are really, really good because her jabs have the same range. They have a disjointed hitbox where from this range here, if you look at this range, this is the range of like most mids in the game have a range like this. This is outside of sweep range, and yet the jab is still hitting. When you look at Cetrion's jab, that disjointed hitbox, those effects that are coming off of it, those effects can make contact with you, but you cannot hit Cetrion by making contact with those effects. So what happens is it gives her great range as well as great anti-airing ability if you jump, because you're basically landing on a particle effect that can cause damage to you but doesn't allow you to get through it to reach Cetrion to cause damage to her. So she has a great anti-air. Also, when you're coming in with attack, she can also use this range here. This is going to outrange most of your attacks, right? And be faster as it's an 8-frame high. And it's great for meeting opponents who are trying to come in. And again, they're not trying to come in with attacks that go under this, down 3, down 4, because they're getting eaten alive by rock walls. And as well as moves like this, although not so much this at closer ranges. This is actually a bad idea at closer ranges. Usually you see rock wall at those ranges, which gets people off down 1, down 3, down 4, which allows Cetrion to do her down 1, down 3s, and down 4s. You know, I don't want to do that. That's her ground pound, by the way, which, again, just for the speed of moves, when we go back to zoning, that's 22 frames in case anybody wants to say, what about her ground pound for a zoning tool? They're all 20 plus frames, 40 frames, etc. So when you look at her jabs here now also, on block, this is -1, her single jab. So -1 means even if she were to go with a down 1 from here, even if you had the fastest mid in the game, you would trade. The second fastest mids in the game lose. Off 1-1, that's -2. Her down 1 is 8 frames, down 3 is 9. More times than not, this will beat out or trade with the second fastest mids in the game. So it's really, really good. It prevents most characters from getting real juice on the screen. So a lot of people tend to down 1, but of course it's tough to down 1 because she can always backdash, and then backdash rock wall, backdash, your attack whiffs, and then she does like forward 2. A lot of stuff that she does in which she can actually backdash and really kind of bait out a lot of stuff. She has a very strong neutral game, very strong poke game, very strong poke backdash, poke and follow up with something else. Rockwall also comes into play here, or something like down 1, especially from the range of her down 1, which also has this disjointed hitbox here. See, down 1, Rockwall. This is, you cannot interrupt. A point blank Rockwall here, some characters can just jab right through it, or down 1 through it. But from ranges like this, you really cannot. You're pretty much going to have to flawless block the second hit. And from this range, as most of the characters in the game, when they flawless block the second hit, will get nothing. Same thing off of down 3 when she spaces this out properly. But even up close, you still have that mind game of will she amplify, will she not amplify it? And of course, this also frees up down 1 into Tornado, which will reset neutral because you're waiting for Rockwall. Tornado itself, also a very, very strong tool. It's great for zoning as well. 18 frames, again, these are not super fast zoning attacks here. Tornado also armor breaks, brings you back down to the ground, it keeps you grounded, or if you're airborne, will bring you back down to the ground. As you can see, I'll just do like a combo here. It brings you back down to the ground here, leaves her at advantage, in which you can't really poke out of stuff. You have to then guess, strike, throw. Just has a lot of stuff in her game, a lot of really, really powerful tools. She also has a great jump kick, a good jump in general, very quick off the ground jump, great backdash. She just has a lot of tools. And even if somebody wants to say, well, she's zoning you with, at mid-range with 1/1s and rock wall, that's her zoning. Zoning with her 1/1 and rock wall, that's like saying Shao Kahn zones with his forward 2. Okay? Zoning does not mean using attacks to basically control space. That's called controlling space with attacks, right? Sticking feathers up your butt does not make you a chicken. Controlling space with jabs does not make you a zoner. So that's not really what she is. So in reality, Cetrion, everything she does, especially her teleport, frees up her zoning. And not her zoning that frees everything else up. So what would you nerf on set? Like if you were going to nerf something, what would you nerf? Her zoning? I mean, these moves are already 40-something frames. What do you want to make them? 60 frames, 70 frames? That would be absolutely terrible. And even if you did that, she would still be a super good character and you'd be coming to nerf the next thing. Her teleport? I mean, sure, if her teleport was a 2-slot move, for example, it would be much harder, but they would still find a way to equip it and still be a top character. They would still put it in anyway. They would just take out like ground pound or something. And I mean, I don't know, maybe something else as well. But they would still find a way to equip the teleport. I can promise you that. And you would still complain about it. Nerf her tornado, nerf the armor breaking aspect of it. It would still be really, really good. People would still complain about it. Cetrion, it's not one particular thing that you can nerf, right? It's a collection of things that really make her what she is and really allows her to take advantage of a lot of things in MK11's system, including the ability to circumvent the wake-up system by having restands. Restands with this. Also resetting neutral, like, trying to hunt combos, resetting neutral. And as well as like after knockdown, she can like kind of backdash rock wall, which will really kind of limit a lot of your options. Wake up jump, wake up buttons, up 3, up 2. She does really, really good in limiting your wake up options as well. So, I mean, should Cetrion be nerfed? A lot of people would look at this and say, sure, you gotta nerf her. She's too strong. But in reality, isn't this more of a credit to the game and what we want? You see, Cetrion is the way she is because if you look at Cetrion versus Shao Kahn, she beats him everywhere. Up close, from far, from midway range. She beats some characters, even some of the better up close characters, she still beats them up close as well. The answer isn't take. Right, we're here because it's always take, right? For years and years of us saying, take this, take that. Well, they tried really, really hard to balance this game out overall, and they were really, really cautious with the, how they do moves with this custom variation here. And now here we are saying take more from Cetrion. But that's not really the answer. Cetrion is really the perfect example of where every character should strive to be. When you have options and great counterplay based on your options, even bad matchups aren't that bad. Regardless of what the number on paper says, the matchup itself is not that bad. And it's really fun. Like, ultimately, the game is also meant to be fun. A game where nobody has anything is the complete opposite of fun. To nerf Cetrion and then nerf the next guy up and the next guy up and the next guy up and the next guy up. I mean, when does it stop, right? This should be more about making more characters more like Cetrion, in which they can use the system in so many ways and have so many things that really allow them to do this or that or the other. That's really good. That's really, really fun. And I think really that's where we need to be. So when you're watching a lot of these tournaments, and the next time you feel the urge to go on Twitter and say, nerf this character, nerf that, take this, just remember, it doesn't make the game any more fun. And what you should be thinking is more characters should be more like this in their own way, as opposed to doing down 1, down 3, down 4, crushing blow, uppercut, and throw. Just think about that before you hit send next time around. That's all for this video. As always, thanks so much for watching my content and supporting all my stuff. I really appreciate it. And stay tuned for more content.